Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, the 25th of October. I hope you're having a great day. Early this week, we had some snow. It feels like, fall is definitely here. Winter is coming. As much as I love winter, I haven't looked for my snow boots yet and still want to run around in my Skechers in my bare feet. I love the winter, but I'm not quite ready for it yet. How about you? This morning, I'd like to share with you something I read on Monday morning from Radical Common Prayer for a liturgy for ordinary radicals. I'm having trouble speaking. And it was a little bit, sometimes they talk about somebody from history, from Christian history, who has affected or changed the world. And today, or on, sorry, Monday, the 23rd, they quoted 2nd century Bishop Melito of Sardis, who wrote, "Nature trembled and said with astonishment, 'What new mystery is this? The judge is judged and remains silent. The invisible one is seen and does not hide himself. The incomprehensible one is comprehended and does not resist. The unmeasurable one is measured and does not struggle. The one beyond suffering suffers and does not avenge himself. The immortal one dies and does not refuse death. What new mystery is this?'" I found that incredibly powerful. Been going through a period of discernment and trying to listen for God's voice, reading all kinds of books that are coming at me. Richard Rohr, Universal Christ, and reading a book by John Smong, which always twists the mind up, but makes me think about things in a brand new way. And when I read that, it was like, yes, oh my gosh, yes. This is the essence of Jesus, this new mystery. And I keep thinking about what the church, in particular, what the church, the bigger, louder church, the more evangelical church, the more churches, the more politically minded churches are saying to the world about who they believe Jesus is, whether it's the gospel, the prosperity gospel, or those churches that are sort of coming up in defense of war in Israel. The idea that somehow this Jesus that they present is the Jesus that represents all Christians. And because they have the biggest voice and they share the loudest message, sometimes we forget that they don't speak for all of us. They don't speak for the millions and millions and possibly billions of Christians around the world who don't believe that way, who don't believe that Jesus is some kind of a white dude who's come back to challenge the world, challenge all those world powers who think they have it right but don't, because they don't have the correct right way of holding power. I've never thought Jesus was like that. That's never been my theology. But when I read this, it was like, yeah, think about this. Nature trembled and said with astonishment, "What new mystery is this? The judge is judged and remains silent." When we think about God and we think about how we feel about God, especially if we're on the fence, or maybe we've toppled over the other side and we really can't stand God, or we don't believe in God, or we're just, like I said, sitting on the fence and we're like, I don't know, I don't know. But think about what it means, because too many people think of God as the judge, the one who's going to separate us, the sheep from the goat, who's going to send those ones to hell and save those beautiful, blessed ones who seem to already know that they're saved. And he talks about the judge is judged and remains silent. That is not the God that the prosperity gospel talks about. That is not the God that the powerful and the rich who are pushing forward their notion of what Christianity is and should be. That is not the God that they expect. They seem to be expecting a God who judges and judges harshly, and specifically judges the way they would judge. Instead, what we've been given in Jesus is the judge who is judged and remains silent. Accusations were made against Jesus, and he did not stand up in the Sanhedrin. He did not stand up in the synagogue, in the temple, and say, "Who the bleep do you think you are? I am God." Jesus very quietly did things like say, "Who do you say that I am?" And he said things like, if I was a king on this world, my people would be coming and saving me. But I am not of this world. When Jesus was accused, when we recognize Jesus as part of the Trinity, part of God, is the judge, when the judge was judged, he did not stand up and defend himself or throw stones or demand that he have the best lawyer in town. He didn't lie to the courts. He didn't do anything like that. He simply stood and listened as he was judged. He remained silent. The invisible one is seen and does not hide himself. Those who want to hold on to God and form God in their own image have got this idea that they have to sort of protect this image of God, that the God that they believe in can't possibly be seen by those who are unworthy. And God didn't intend to be seen until God came to us in the form of Jesus. Because we needed him. Society, humanity was messing up big time. And so God said, okay, I will no longer be invisible. I will be visible. I will be incarnate. The invisible one was seen and does not hide himself. God, who could have remained invisible, chose to make God's self completely visible. The incomprehensible one is measured. The incomprehensible one is comprehended and does not resist. From the beginning, Adam, Abraham, Moses, they didn't understand God. God did not say to them when Moses said, "Who are you?" God's answer was, "I am. I am." I mean, that's as confusing and hard to understand as the Trinity, like 3 in 1 and 1 in 3. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and yet somehow it does. God is the incomprehensible one, but came to be with us, and we comprehended to a degree. We will never, I don't believe any of us ever truly comprehends what God was and God did in the body and person of Jesus Christ, of Jesus. But we got some more comprehension, if not, certainly not all, but we got some comprehension of the one who is by nature incomprehensible. And he did not resist. Jesus didn't say, "Don't try to understand me." He let people come to him, ask him questions. He didn't resist. He answered questions. Sometimes they were in parables. Sometimes they were in answers that made no sense. People had to work out. They were almost incomprehensible. But God never resisted when humanity said, "Let me understand. I must understand." The immeasurable one is measured and does not struggle. We can't measure the vastness of God. We can't. That's the nature of God. We can't do that. We have no measuring stick that could ever completely measure and give us some, metric or imperial understanding of what God is. And yet God allowed God's self to be part of us, so that in Jesus he could be measured, he could be watched, he could be judged, he could be challenged and questioned. And yet God did that for us and did not struggle, did not fight back against that, did not say, "You're not allowed." God in Jesus just said, "Here I am. Do what you will." The one beyond suffering suffers and does not avenge himself. God doesn't need to suffer. God is the creator of all things. And yet in Jesus, God's self was whipped by the cat of 9 tails. He was spat upon. He was stoned. People treated him badly. He was hung on a cross. He was nailed to a cross in the form of Jesus. And he did not struggle. He did not say, "No, I won't go and fight." I can imagine if somebody tried to take me away bodily, tried to take me away, to put me to death, I would fight and struggle, and I would be like the ultimate Cat fight. But Jesus didn't struggle. He went with them willingly. He did not struggle. And finally, the immortal one dies and does not refuse death. God, of all beings, God could have said, no, I'm not going there. I'm not dying for you. I don't need to die. It's not part of who I am. So I'm not going to do it. And yet, in Jesus, God said, if that is what you require to come into relationship with me, to see how much I love you, how much sacrifice I would make for you, then I will die. The immortal one dies and does not refuse death. And Melita says, Bishop Melito of Sardis writes, what new mystery is this? That is the God that I worship. That is the God I struggle to comprehend, that I struggle to walk beside, and I revel in trying to comprehend, and I revel in walking beside, because this is a God who is willing to come onto my level, where I am, get down in the dirt with me, wrestle and fight, and have that cat fight, and still at the end of it dust me off, tidy up my wounds, and say, hey, you are still my beloved child, Rachel. That is the mystery that we are dealing with. I can't prove to you that God exists. I can only live the proof of God's existence through the way that I live my life, and hope that in some small, infinitesimal way, that the living of my life and the integrity with which I live might give you just a miniature, tiny little glimpse into that new mystery that God has given us. What new mystery are you discovering in your life? Have a great day. God bless. Seek out the mysteries. Live in the mystery. I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachael.